Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And in this episode, we are pitting Mr. Miracle against Adam Warlock.
Right, it's a duel episode, one that kind of continues the Infinity Saga theme from our last episode when we reviewed Avengers Endgame.
Right, those Infinity Gems may not appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe anymore, so we figured, why not do this episode now?
Right, because Adam Warlock is so tied into the Infinity Gems in the comics.
Right, but before we get to that, we're going to break down the news items from the past week. No DC news,
That's the way I like it.
Which is disappointing. But we're going to be talking about the Spider-Man Far From Home official trailer that dropped earlier today.
Total surprise.
Yeah, and the Ghost Rider and Helstrom series that are being developed for Hulu.
Another total surprise.
Really big surprise. If you want to skip around, our segment times are in our episode description.
Right, so you can listen to whatever topics that you want to listen to.
And guys, guess what? Big news. Guess who got to 100 ratings on iTunes?
These guys. I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Adam, who I think gave us our 100th rating, because he said it was at 99 by the time he rated us.
But we're halfway there.
Right, that is our goal. Our goal is to get to 200 ratings on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, because at that point we become eligible to become official Rotten Tomatoes critics, where our reviews of these Marvel and DC movies count toward the official tomato meters of those films.
Right, but we can't do that until we hit 200.
So everyone who has already rated us, just go ahead and find another phone or iTunes account and just do it again. And we'll be there in no time flat. But thank you, everyone who has rated us. 100 ratings is a lot, and it means so much to us to get that kind of praise from you guys. And yeah, we're almost there, I feel like. We'll make it before the end of this year, I swear to God. Please.
We are as tired of talking about it as you guys are of hearing about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, but with that news out of the way,
quick, to the No Prize.
A No Prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media. We personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week.
Last week's question was, what will be the next Marvel or DC film to beat the Avengers Endgame worldwide opening weekend gross of $1.2 billion? And the film actually just crossed $2 billion.
That's insane.
It is.
It's insanity.
It's crazy.
It's so great. We got a lot of great answers here. Honorable mention goes to Evil Canimble, who gave the answer of Aquaman 2.
Which, awesome. I think I found a bigger Aquaman fan than me.
Yeah, there's no way that's going to happen, considering the fact that Endgame made more in its opening weekend than the first Aquaman movie did in its entire theatrical run.
Yeah. We're talking about Aquaman 2, though. So honorable mention also goes to Harrison Fox and Bodo Winter, who gave the answer Secret Wars, but specifically a Secret Wars that combines a separate Fantastic Four and X-Men universe with the MCU.
I don't know how I feel about the Fantastic Four and X-Men being in separate universes. I want them to originate in the MCU, but yeah. I'm all about a Secret Wars movie. That absolutely has the potential to be bigger than Endgame.
Well, that's great, because the answer was also given by Joel Seagrave and Kieran Pilmare, who also gave the answer Doomsday Clock.
Oh yeah, I could totally see a merger of the Justice League with the Watchmen characters.
Oh my gosh. Yes. 1,000 times yes.
Yeah, it could be huge. Honorable mention goes to Ray Nava 3, who also gave the answer Secret Wars, but also Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe and Secret Invasion.
Salvador Martinez also gave the answer Secret Invasion.
That definitely has the potential as well, although that's more of like a planetary threat and not quite the universal threat that Thanos was.
Right.
But I can't wait for Secret Invasion. They have to do it. They're going to do it. And it's going to be amazing.
You think, yeah. Sean Nightingale gave the answer Blackest Night, which superheroes and zombies, yes please.
Yeah, but you have to have a lot of characters who have died in like a previous movie.
If you lead up to it with a Sinestro War, then there you go. It could entirely be a Green Lantern self-contained story.
True. Honorable mention goes to David Cholden, who gave the answer The Dark Knight, Master Race.
Yeah, that was a Frank Miller story. And Brian Azzarello. It was essentially Batman taking on the grown Kryptonians from the bottled city of Kandor.
So it would be like Batman v Superman.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Iran Agami gave the answer of a Marvel Star Wars crossover film.
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it would be huge. Combining the two fan bases would just make all the money in the entire world.
I don't know. I'd kind of be like, Star Wars is ruining Marvel. Honorable mention goes to Dustin Ray Balcom, who gave the answer of a Justice League film, but with established characters, though. So, like, probably like a 10-year thing, just like Marvel.
Well, considering the fact that's what the first Avengers film did, and the first Avengers film did not make $1.2 billion opening weekend.
Why do you gotta shit all over the DC answers? It's gonna happen.
Honorable mention goes to Jacob Bell, who gave the answer Justice League versus the Legion of Doom.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great, especially since they teased it at the end of the Justice League movie. And if they had the right villains, I could totally see it being huge.
Oh, yeah, like Sinestro and Gorilla Grodd.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Honorable mention also goes to Daniel Tribble and Matt Estes, who both gave the answer Avengers versus X-Men. Yes! That would be so huge, especially if you put the X-Men in a series of films before you put them against the Avengers. That definitely could top Endgame's gross. Especially if you find the next Hugh Jackman for Wolverine.
I totally think out of all these answers so far, that would be the best bet for topping Endgame, honestly. Kane Morgan also gave the answer Avengers versus X-Men, but also added a DC answer in Dark Knight's Metal. And if you're not familiar with that storyline, it's pretty recent. Basically, all these other Bruce Waynes, Batman from different corrupted universes, basically like defeat the entire DC universe.
Yeah, and he suggested it should star the previous actors who have played Batman, such as Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, tossed in George Clooney and Val Kilmer. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Final honorable mention goes to Aaron Alexander Jones, who gave the answer Avengers versus the next big bad, parentheses, maybe Galactus. And yeah, that's what I said. I think I mentioned in the last episode that a fight against Galactus could potentially be bigger than Endgame's fight against Thanos.
Yeah.
Especially when you have the Fantastic Four and X-Men franchises tossed in.
Right. Before we get to the winner real quick, there were a few other people who answered, but they essentially said nothing could be Endgame, or they didn't really give a specific film. So we didn't count those.
Right. But the winner of this week's No Prize goes to both Jeremy Orr and Kenneth McNeese Jr. for their answer of Justice League versus Avengers.
And these guys know a podcast they're listening to, because that is a perfect answer. I didn't even think of that when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, that would be my biggest dream.
And hopefully everyone here has read the Justice League versus Avengers 4-part series that was co-published by both Marvel and DC. It was just an amazing story drawn by George Perez and written by Kurt Busiek. And it was just a phenomenal story where each team had to gather their most powerful artifacts from around the universe and then try to use them against each other.
It was so cool.
But then Krona ended up merging the two worlds, so that Marvel and DC were one universe for a while, but not in the lame amalgam way from the 90s.
Right.
And then eventually the two teams had to team up together to fight Krona. It was so great.
Just make that movie.
It would be huge. It would be huge.
$1 trillion.
$1 trillion, mark my words. Jeez, that's like 1,000 billions, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's no way. But yeah, congrats again to Jeremy Orr and Kenneth McNeese Jr. You guys win this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want to win a No Prize, go ahead and stay tuned to later on this episode when we ask another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news.
So I was not expecting to get a Spider-Man trailer this week, but we did. I kind of thought we would get one along with the release of Avengers Endgame, but considering the content of this trailer, it totally made sense why they chose not to do that. Because the Spider-Man trailer contains a huge, massive spoiler for Avengers Endgame. So if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet and you're listening to this, go ahead and skip ahead to the next topic, because yeah, we're going to be talking about Avengers Endgame spoilers.
I just have to note that starting this Friday in theaters, this trailer will be appearing at the end of Avengers Endgame screenings.
Yeah, although I don't know if it'll have the little intro given by Tom Holland where he's like, don't watch this, guys. You don't want to be spoiled, but if you've seen the movie, enjoy the show.
If you have seen Avengers Endgame, enjoy the show.
That sounded Australian.
Fuck!
Can't do accents here.
No.
We should never try. But yeah, the trailer starts off with Spider-Man crying over Iron Man's death. And I have to say, Tom Holland's done a lot of crying throughout these movies. They kind of need to stop, otherwise they're in danger of running into the whole Tobey Maguire fiasco from Spider-Man 3, where he cried every 10 minutes in that movie.
Yeah.
That being said, it does look very heartfelt. Tom Holland looks really cool in the Spider-Man outfit, taking on the bad guys in that restaurant or hotel lobby or wherever he's fighting. I'm still not sure how I feel about the Spider-Man suit being bulletproof.
Or having the arms.
Right, because although he's had that in the comics during Civil War and, the Superior Spider-Man had those back arms, it doesn't feel traditional to me. It feels kind of like a gimmick. So I'm excited to see him ditch this suit eventually in the course of the movie and go back to more of his classic suits later on in the film.
Yeah, he has quite a few additional suits in this film. They're going to sell so many action figures.
Yeah, he has like the stealth suit and he has like the black trim suit. They both look really great. What did you think of the little jab that he gave to New York Police Department saying that he's doing their job for them?
That was messed up. I thought the one cop was going to what? Punch him in the face.
But they kind of took it in stride.
Two of the cops laughed. One of them looked really offended.
But he was like, yeah, you guys got to step up because I'm going on vacation, which is the premise that they set up in the last trailer. So we see that he's going on a class field trip with his friends who allegedly all got dusted in Thanos' snap because they're all the same age.
Right.
This movie takes place in 2023 according to the MCU timeline. And since all these kids are in the same grade as they were in Homecoming, you have to assume that's what happened. I really like Jon Favreau's performance in this. I think he's pretty spot on with his humor in these Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you gotta answer the phone, it's Nick Fury. And Spider-Man hangs up the phone and he's like, you did not just send Nick Fury to voicemail.
You do not ghost Nick Fury.
But we see that Nick Fury visits Spider-Man while he's on vacation, and he recruits him to join Mysterio in a fight against these elemental beings.
That was an interesting scene.
Yes, it is. They set Mysterio up as a being from an alternate Earth. And Peter Parker's like, there's a multiverse? And I'm curious to know whether or not this multiverse existed prior to Avengers Endgame, or if it was created due to the multiple timelines that manifested through the Avengers time traveling.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
Right. Part of me thinks that you should never trust Mysterio.
Oh, definitely.
But also part of me thinks that this may be Sony's back-end way of creating another Spider-Man universe for themselves. Sort of like what they're doing with Into the Spider-Verse.
Possible. I did not think about that. I just automatically don't trust Mysterio, and I'm assuming that he's making up this alternate Earth backstory as a way to make him seem more mysterious, when in actuality, he's just a tech genius who appears to be manifesting all these fantastical powers.
Right.
Because that's totally his MO in the comics.
Right.
And for those who are unaware, I mean, if you listen to our Mysterio versus Scarecrow duel episode, Mysterio started out in his first issue as a hero. He portrayed himself as a hero and framed Spider-Man and said that he was going to be the one to bring Spider-Man to justice.
Right. But he also has history in the comics of, traversing to other dimensions. He went to the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, exactly. He was one of the few main Marvel Universe characters to interact with the Ultimate Universe prior to the Secret Wars events. So there's some precedent going both ways here. But I'm placing my bets on the fact that he's a lying asshole who's going to use Spider-Man to try to further his own agenda of becoming the new Iron Man.
Oh, absolutely. They keep referencing Iron Man's legacy throughout this trailer.
Right. Yeah, and people are expecting Spider-Man to kind of step up into that role, and Peter's even considering stepping into that role himself.
I kind of feel like by the end of this movie, he's going to realize that he doesn't need to be Iron Man, that he is Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And it was funny when he told that to Nick Fury, and Nick Fury was like, bitch, please, you've been to space.
That was great. That was a great line.
What did you think of the fact that apparently MJ knows who Peter Parker is?
I feel like they wouldn't spoil that because it seems like a pretty big spoiler.
Yeah.
I feel like they wouldn't spoil it unless Mysterio was going to help Peter Parker arrange another Spider-Man to fool MJ and make her realize that she was wrong.
Maybe. I mean, it is kind of faithful to the books because Mary Jane did figure out Peter was Spider-Man before he even told her because she saw him fucking around on a roof, changing into his clothes.
Oh, jeez.
But as I've mentioned before, I'm still wary about this version of MJ considering that, she's not Mary Jane, she is Michelle, and I still don't know what they're doing with the character. I'm fine if Zendaya is Mary Jane, but they need to state that she is.
I kind of have a problem with how dry and snarky she is. She calls them dorks, and then, from the first trailer, it's oh, and there I have value. I don't know, she just rubs me the wrong way.
I mean, yeah, I could see that. She has kind of a bit of a grating personality that would make her hard to get along with, so I don't quite see the attraction, beyond the physical. But maybe she, chills out a little bit during this movie.
I mean, Zendaya seems like a good actress, and she's definitely an up-and-coming actress. I'm seeing her in more and more projects.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think it's the acting. I think it's just the way the character is written.
Yeah, definitely.
So far, based on trailers.
Right. The special effects for Mysterio always look so cool.
The character looks so cool.
I can't wait to see him in action.
It kind of makes me wish, he was a superhero. Because he's just, the coolest superhero ever, if he was.
Kind of like a Doctor Strange type hero, but without any actual magical powers.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept. But no, keep him as a villain. I love him as a Spidey villain. And I'm really glad that he's finally going to be on the big screen now. So yeah, that does it for the news about the trailer. Just want to give you guys a quick heads up. If you hear this like crackling sound in the background, it's not static. It's actually raining, and the rain is pelting Jonathan's basement window where we record.
Yeah, I think it's hail.
It might be. Anyway,
I don't like it.
Moving on to the big, huge news from Disney that they're going to create 2 new shows on Hulu under a Spirits of Vengeance banner, and those shows are going to be Ghost Rider and Helstrom.
I thought it was Helstrom.
Well, the character's name is Damien Helstrom, but like his alias is Hellstorm. So I'm not sure what the show is going to be called. It could go either way, honestly.
He's like a Constantine knockoff, right?
No, well, he's an actual demon. He's the son of a demon. He's the son of Satan, who is one of the elder lords of hell. And actually, Hellstorm rules over his own domain of hell in the comic books.
Well, that's interesting.
But he lives on Earth and fights demons and things like that. So that's pretty cool. Basically, with both Ghost Rider and Hellstorm, you have these 2 demonic characters fighting evil.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know if you know this, but the TV show Lucifer, which is a DC Comics character, is on Netflix now. Netflix saved the show from cancellation from like Fox or something like that. So it's kind of interesting that like once Marvel pulls their shows off Netflix, that's when DC starts putting theirs on Netflix. And now Disney is putting the Marvel shows on Hulu, and it's just interesting.
All kinds of wackiness going on there.
Yeah.
That Hellstorm, I think, is going to be more of like a Constantine type show, whereas Ghost Rider is going to be more of like a crazy monster action show.
And it's starring Gabriel Luna.
Yes, I freaking love that. As much as I'm not a huge fan of the character of Robbie Reyes from the comics, I much prefer Johnny Blaze. I really enjoyed Gabriel Luna's portrayal of Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show.
Now, it's been said that this show is not going to have any connection to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Which sucks, actually, because you like to see that continuity carried forward.
Right.
But as long as he's in the role, I know the character is in good hands. I'm really excited for this news, especially considering the Spirits of Vengeance banner that the shows are being placed under, because it leaves the opportunity for so many other darker characters from the Marvel Universe to be portrayed in live action. Marvel used to do this in the films under a Marvel Knights banner. So like Punisher Warzone and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, that was produced under the Marvel Knights banner, which was the name of a darker line of Marvel Comics back in the early 2000s. And while I like the banner Marvel Knights more than I like the banner Spirits of Vengeance, because I feel like it applies to more characters, there are still plenty of characters that, pursue vengeance and are darker that could be produced under this banner. And that brings us to our question of the week.
So in addition to Ghost Rider and Helstrom, what other Marvel characters should get their own Hulu television series under the Spirits of Vengeance banner?
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. And I think that does it for all the news for this episode. Let's go ahead and get into the main event where we find out who is going to win in a fight between the characters of Mr. Miracle and Adam Warlock.
Okay, so Mr. Miracle versus Adam Warlock. As we mentioned earlier, we knew we wanted to do an Adam Warlock duel this episode just to tie into Endgame and the Infinity Gauntlet storyline that was touched upon in that. I can't remember how we decided Mr. Miracle was a good match for him, though.
Well, because I figured that they had, similar power levels, and they're both terribly mysterious characters who also have, vague abilities, and
they're both kind of like cosmic messiahs in a way as well.
Yes, exactly. So I think this is a pretty good matchup, possibly not quite so even, but definitely interesting.
Yeah, honestly, I have no clue what Adam Warlock does, but...
and I know very little about Mr. Miracle, than he's an escape artist.
Yeah, this will be interesting. So if this is your first time listening to one of our Duel episodes, the way we determine the winner is based on stats. We collect statistics from the Marvel Power Grid, which is an official curation and ranking of the Marvel characters' abilities, and from that we extrapolate the DC character stats.
Right, and we toss in a few other stats in order to create a more robust simulation, such as evasiveness and range, things like that.
Right, and the simulations that we run are a Monte Carlo simulation.
Yeah, what that does is it takes those stat numbers and it randomizes it along a normal distribution, which is represented by a bell curve. So you have the number that is represented most frequently at the top of the curve, and you have your deviations from that as it gets randomized.
And that represents all the variables that you'll encounter in the battle.
Right, so once these numbers have been randomized, we compare them against each other 1,000 times. And from those 1,000 simulations, we get a percentage of wins for each character in the match, and we declare the winner to be the one that has the highest percentage of wins.
Right, and this is the same model that the old Spike television series Deadliest Warrior used to determine their winners. And no character ever wins 100% of the time. There's always a way, like story-wise, for one character to defeat another, and that's also represented in this model.
So we believe that it's fairly accurate, at least as accurate as you could get when you're talking about two fictional characters battling.
And all the variables that go with that. And we have to take this mathematical approach because Joseph and I are super biased. We've been having these debates our entire lives, so this is the most objective method of determining a winner.
Right, exactly. So before we run the simulations, though, what we like to do is we like to go over each character's backstory and abilities, as well as kind of role play how we think a fight between the two characters would actually pan out. So let's go ahead and get started with the backstory of, I think it's your turn, Mr. Miracle.
Yes. So Mr. Miracle, also known as Scott Free, is arguably one of the most important figures in the DC universe, as he was destined to become its most powerful godlike being, yet, as the universe's foremost escape artist, even Destiny has seemingly been unable to take hold of Mr. Miracle. He's a central character within Jack Kirby's Fourth World Saga, and his history is rooted in the eternal war between the new gods of the planets New Genesis and Apocalypse, in a realm outside of time and space known as the Sphere of the Gods, which you can learn more about in our Darkseid vs. Thanos episode. It's important to note that New Genesis and Apocalypse exist near the Source Wall, a barrier at the edge of existence behind which stores an energy known as the Source, from which all creation began. Now, amidst peace negotiations between the two planets, the benevolent patriarch of New Genesis, known as Highfather, and the malevolent tyrant of Apocalypse, Darkseid, agreed to exchange their newborn children. Highfather received Darkseid's second-born son, Orion, and gave up his only begotten son, Scott, to his enemy Darkseid. In an effort to corrupt Scott, Darkseid gave him to a sadistic general, Granny Goodness, to raise in one of her orphanages, which were designed to break and torture children into becoming Apocalypse's fiercest warriors. Scott's spirit was never broken, however, and he attempted numerous times to escape the orphanage, which resulted in Granny Goodness giving him the ironic nickname of Scott Free. Eventually, Scott lived up to that name and he escaped, thanks to the help of an undercover scientist from New Genesis named Himon, the discoverer of Element X and the inventor of the Mother Box. Himon led an underground resistance on Apocalypse, in which Scott met Big Barda, a lieutenant of Granny Goodness's female Furies, who were the personal bodyguards of Darkseid. Barda fell in love with Scott's passion for freedom, and the two began a romantic relationship, and would later marry. As Himon's protege, Scott learned to design and build advanced mechanics, including his own Mother Box, that would help the Resistance evade Darkseid's attention. The Resistance was eventually discovered by Darkseid, however, and only Scott, Barda, and Himon were able to flee with their lives. They used their Mother Boxes to generate teleportation portals known as boom tubes and escaped Apocalypse, knowing, unfortunately, that with Scott's departure, the peace treaty made between Highfather and Darkseid would be broken, and war between the planets would resume, which, unknown to Scott at the time, was Darkseid's plan all along. Himon returned to New Genesis, while Scott and Barda made their way to Earth separately. It was on Earth that Scott met the master escape artist Thaddeus Brown, better known by his stage name, Mr. Miracle, along with his assistant, a dwarf named Oberon. Thaddeus had trained Bruce Wayne years earlier in the art of escape artistry, but was an old man by the time he met Scott, and he was looking for an apprentice to take up his performance act. Scott was more than up to the challenge, as his new god technology and physicality allowed him to perform unbelievable death-defying feats. Darkseid tracked Scott's location to Earth, which he became obsessed with as he determined it contained the missing fragments he needed to complete an anti-life equation that would grant him complete control over all life and existence across the multiverse. Darkseid set up a crime syndicate on Earth known as Intergang, whose local crime boss, Steel Hand, had a history with Thaddeus Brown. There was a running bet between the two that Thaddeus could not escape death. Intergang harassed Thaddeus constantly, and the aged escape artist was killed by an Intergang sniper while practicing an escape act. Scott Free took up his mentor's costume and name, Mr. Miracle, and avenged Thaddeus by bringing down the local intergang organization and making sure that Steel Hand knew that Mr. Miracle was still alive. Scott and Barda lived semi-retired lives, teaming up with the Justice League when the New Gods War spilled over onto Earth, and occasionally performing escape exhibitions while trying to live a quiet life in suburbia. Darkseid made this difficult, however, as he often sent agents to recapture the couple. But, unbeknownst to Darkseid, during Scott's time on Earth, he became the only being in existence that had learned all the variables to the complete anti-life equation. Fitting, as Scott was probably the only one in the multiverse with the willpower strong enough to avoid the temptation of using it. He was eventually called home to his birthplace of New Genesis when Highfather died in the New Gods War. Scott was called upon to assume the role of his father as the ruler of New Genesis, and he inherited Highfather's power known as the Alpha Effect, the universal energy balance to Darkseid's Omega Effect. Unwilling to be constrained by his leadership responsibilities, Scott gave up his title and vast powers to Tachyon of New Genesis, and returned to Earth with his wife Barda, where he gave up the mantle of Mr. Miracle and gave it to his protege, a man named Shiloh Norman.
Wow, that name is way worse than Scott Free.
It is what it is. Destiny would finally catch up with Scott, however, in the lead up to Darkseid's acquisition of the full anti-life equation during an event known as Final Crisis. An assassin, later revealed to be Infinity Man, which was a Captain Planet-type entity made of source energy, was responsible for killing countless new gods, including Barda. Enraged and grief-stricken, Mr. Miracle tracked down the assassin, who had been posing as his old mentor, Himon, and activated the anti-life equation, which is essentially anti-source. It was revealed that it was the Source's goal to reunite with anti-life, as it foresaw Darkseid's final crisis and wished to usher in a new era, a fifth world as it were, in which Darkseid was defeated and the new gods, including Scott and Barda, were reborn. In the New 52, Scott lived on Earth 2 for a time before moving to Earth Prime and helping the Justice League in the Darkseid War along with Barda. As a new god, Mr. Miracle is immortal, has superhuman reflexes, durability, and strength. He can lift about 40 tons on his own, though this can be boosted with the aid of his Mother Box, a source-powered intelligent supercomputer of sorts that can mentally communicate with Scott and warn him of danger, heal his wounds, analyze life forms, absorb and manipulate energy, transmute matter, and generate boom tubes, amongst other things. Mr. Miracle also has a Mother Box peripheral device called a multi-cube, which can generate a number of preset devices and effects, including a cutting laser, grapnel lines, corrosive spray, sonic frequencies, and holographic images. His costume is a high-tech suit equipped with a shielding cape, X-ray lenses, microscopic suction cups and magnets that allow him to adhere to any surface, circuitry that can absorb and redirect energy, and an array of hidden pockets and compartments that hide explosive charges, snaring devices, and gadgets like arrow discs, which he can eject from his boots, allowing him to fly. The arrow discs can also be worn on his forearms to use as shields or slicing weapons, which he could also fire as speeding projectiles. He's a master of escapology, has a genius-level intellect, and, though he prefers not to fight, he is one of the best trained and formidable fighters of the Fourth World. Oh, and he knows the anti-life equation, so Adam Warlock is fucked.
Is he going to use the anti-life equation during the course of this battle?
Maybe. What do you like to know? What do you like to know?
Well, I mean, if he has the anti-life equation, then Adam Warlock most certainly has the soul gem.
Okay, I'll decide if he has the anti-life equation once I find out what the soul gem does.
Okay, I think this was a good matchup because during the course of your story and the course of your power description, I saw a lot of similarities with the character of Adam Warlock.
Cool.
So, let's go ahead and get into his backstory. So once, several scientists, a physicist, a biologist, a technician, and a geneticist came together in their common goal of establishing a benevolent world dictatorship and formed a group called the Enclave. In their facility, called the Beehive, they planned on genetically engineering a race of superior beings to use as an army to take over Earth. For 10 years, they attempted to design the perfect being, empowering it with radiation and chemically accelerating its growth. In the end, they were entirely successful, and the being known as him emerged from his incubation chamber, immediately sensing that his creators intended to use him for evil purposes. Using his innate energy powers, he destroyed the beehive and flew away, a blank slate with no life experience.
Wait, so him was born on Earth?
Yes,
Oh, interesting.
him came under the guidance of the High Evolutionary, who recognized him as a perfect being and named him Warlock, bestowing him with the Soul Gem. The High Evolutionary had used his powers to evolve sentient life on a planet on the opposite side of the sun called Counter-Earth, as an experiment to create a utopian society. Warlock found purpose in protecting the planet from a rogue creation called Man-Beast, who sought to rule over the High Evolutionary's planet. Warlock was given the first name Adam by one of the residents of Counter-Earth and became the planet's champion. He eventually de-evolved Man-Beast and left Counter-Earth to explore and help other worlds. During this time, he discovered an evil future version of himself called the Magus, who led a religious order called the Universal Church of Truth. Their goal was to create a universal empire and had already killed billions that had tried to resist. The Magus was too powerful for Adam to defeat on his own, but Thanos the Mad Titan assisted in an attempt to prevent the future in which the Magus came to power. Thanos also brought along his adopted daughter Gamora, whom you can learn more about in our Hawkgirl vs. Gamora Duel episode. Together, Adam was able to defeat the Magus by absorbing his soul into his soul gem, and soon after, the gem revealed to Adam that it was one of 6 Infinity Gems. Adam saved Gamora's life by absorbing her soul within the gem after Thanos killed her for attempting to thwart his plans to gather all the gems and destroy half the universe to appease the cosmic entity of death. Adam was pulled into the Soul Gem after being defeated by Thanos and was unsuccessful in preventing the Mad Titan from acquiring the gems and killing half the universe. But through his knowledge of Thanos' plan, Adam led an attack against him alongside the universe's mightiest heroes and cosmic deities in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. Though the hero's attack was initially unsuccessful, Adam bid his time for Thanos to make a mistake, which he did when his niece Nebula took control of the gauntlet. Adam used his bond with the Soul Gem to disrupt her control over the other gems and used the distraction to seize the Infinity Gauntlet for himself and restore the universe. Adam psychically purged both the evil and righteous sides of his personality in order to become a fully logical being capable of wielding the all-powerful gauntlet wisely. However, the cosmic deities of the Marvel Universe were ultimately unhappy with Adam's acquisition and convinced him that no single person should wield all that power themselves. Warlock decided to divide the gems among his friends, keeping the Soul Gem for himself, creating what he called the Infinity Watch, whose purpose was to defend the gems from any universal threats that would try to claim them. It turned out that in Adam's psychic purge, his evil side manifested into his old villain, the Magus. Together, the Watch defeated the Magus in the Infinity War, and in the Infinity Crusade, they defeated a being called the Goddess, who was a manifestation of the righteous side of Adam. It was her goal to purge the universe of sin by destroying every living being.
Jeez.
Later, each of the Infinity Gems disappeared without a trace, effectively disbanding the Infinity Watch team, and setting Adam out on a quest to find them again. He eventually found the Soul Gem due to his symbiotic bond with it, and he used it to fight the threat of the Thanosai, which were powerful clones of Thanos made by the Mad Titan himself. After which, Adam finally returned Gamora's affections, since she had loved him this whole time, and they began a relationship. During the Annihilation event, when the ruler of the negative zone named Annihilus invaded the positive matter universe, Adam was driven comatose by the psychic weight of those about to die, and entered into one of his regenerative cocoons, where he stayed for most of the battle. When he emerged, he joined with Star-Lord to attack and defeat Ultron, who had conquered the alien techno-parasitic race known as the Phalanx. Together, they helped form the Guardians of the Galaxy, which you can learn more about in our Adam Strange vs. Star-Lord Duel episode. When the Inhuman King Black Bolt created a fissure in space-time known as the Fault, the Guardians and Adam were able to stop the tear from spreading. However, the act left Adam weakened, and the Fault's influence finally transformed him into his evil future self, the Magus.
Oh, jeez.
In order to stop him, the Guardians had to go back in time with the help of King the Conqueror and use the Cosmic Cube to kill Adam before he could become evil. Adam finally died. However, the cosmic embodiment of death gave Thanos Adam's soul, explaining that the two were outside the realm of order and chaos of life and death. Where Thanos was the avatar of death, Adam was the avatar of life, and Adam was resurrected. He tracked down the soul gem again and found it in Ultron's possession, who was taking over a planet called Safe with a techno-organic virus that had consumed the Silver Surfer. Adam restored Silver Surfer, who in turn convinced Galactus to consume the planet Safe in an effort to prevent Ultron's virus from spreading across the universe. Adam retrieved the soul gem and formed a new Infinity Watch. However, the watch was destroyed by Gamora, who sought to retrieve the gems to restore part of her missing soul and create a new universe. Adam ended Gamora's mishap with the help of the Cosmic Avengers, and, now once again in possession of all the gems, he decided to grant them sentience to determine their own fates.
Oh, interesting. Did that, just happen in the comics?
Yeah, that happened recently.
Huh.
As far as powers go, Warlock has an advanced physiology that not only grants him enhanced physical capabilities, but also allows him to interact with the universe in a truly unique way. As the longest wielder of the Soul Infinity Gem, he shares a symbiotic bond with it where he can detect its location across the universe, as well as detect the souls of others with or without the gem. He can absorb cosmic energy to sustain himself, as well as manipulate that energy as blasts or constructs like energy swords and energy shields. He has some quantum magic powers, such as being able to teleport, cast mystic portals, transmute matter, see through time with clairvoyance, heal himself, and heal the very nature of space-time itself. It also makes him, quote, mysterious, in that no means of psychic or magical probe is able to ascertain information about him. He exists outside of the natural order of things. Warlock can fly, he can lift 40 tons of weight.
What?
That was pretty good. And is quite learned in hand-to-hand combat, particularly in using nerve strikes. He is also a cosmic-level genius and a master tactician and strategist. Finally, he also has his unbreakable karmic staff, which he can use to focus his energies through.
Oh, that's it? Huh. That's,
Oh, and he also has the soul gem, which can be used to peer into the souls of others and ascertain all the information he needs to know about them, as well as capture their souls and imprison it within the soul world, which is the reality within the soul gem.
Okay, so with the soul gem, Warlock can capture Mr. Miracle's soul.
Right.
And with the anti-life equation, Mr. Miracle can essentially control Adam Warlock. So they should probably not have either of those.
Adam Warlock has bonded so completely with the soul gem that he still retains a lot of those abilities even without it, including complete astral control over his own soul. So he can prevent his soul from leaving his body, which is how he creates those cocoons that restore his energy and health and everything like that.
Interesting.
Which I forgot to mention is one of his powers. So even if he loses this match, he's still coming back for more.
Oh, Mr. Miracle is resurrected before as well. And if he had his alpha effect, this would not even be a match. He would just completely, snap his fingers and...
Don't steal snapping fingers
I
from
will
the Infinity
steal snapping
Gauntlet.
fingers from you.
You can't just snap fingers and... That's plagiarism.
He will clap his hands and Adam Warlock would just disappear.
On their own, on paper, they're not as powerful as some other characters that we've done, but they have the potential to be like the most powerful beings within their respective universes.
Exactly.
Which makes this fight so interesting. So now that we've got the history and powers out of the way, what Jonathan and I like to do is discuss how we think a fight between these two characters would go, playing out essentially one of the 1,000 simulations that we run. Now, we don't set any rules for this matchup, save for the fact that the characters start about 50 meters apart from each other. They don't know anything about each other other than that the other one is a threat that needs to be put down. And the fight takes place in a non-environment location because we don't take stats for the environment. We only take stats for the characters, so they have to win on their own merit without any sort of environmental help.
Right, it's too big of a variable. Okay, so the characters start 50 yards apart. Who goes first?
I feel like neither of these characters would go first. They'd be too busy just analyzing and strategizing and coming up with tactics.
All Adam Warlock would hear is just ping, ping, ping. Because that's what the mother box sounds like when it's communicating with its owner.
I feel like in the beginning, they would start off by having a conversation that would be just truly wise and insightful.
And then they just want to end up fighting. Boom, let's go to the stats.
All right, but to that end, being that they're so reactionary and we do have to choose one, I'll just say that Adam Warlock goes first, just to create an advantage.
First blood?
Exactly.
We'll see.
Before he actually moves, I think he will have used he doesn't have psychic attacks per se, but he does have strong psychic defenses as well as empathic abilities, so he could kind of sense who Mr. Miracle is and what he wants.
Mr. Miracle also has psychic defenses, so that may not be as easy as you think.
Fuck! Fuck it. Adam Warlock shoots a blast through his karmic staff.
Okay, so Mr. Miracle acts quickly. He dodges the laser blast because he dodges lasers all the time. And from his multi-cube, he fires off a grapple that wraps around Adam Warlock's neck. Yeah, and yanks him down to the ground, like hitting his head on the ground. And it's holding him there. It's a trap.
Okay, well, before Adam Warlock was pulled to the ground by his neck, he teleported out of the snare. He appeared directly right behind Mr. Miracle and blasts him with a cosmic blast.
Okay, but Scott's mother box sensed that Adam Warlock had appeared just behind him.
I don't think the mother box would be able to do that because of Adam Warlock's mysterious nature where he's undetectable.
No, it's a fucking mother box. If anything, she could read the energy right away coming at him.
Yeah, but I mean, like, okay, Nebula, even wielding the Infinity Gauntlet, wasn't able to detect Adam Warlock. So what makes you think a mother box will be able to detect Adam Warlock?
It'll be able to detect the energy that's coming from him that's about to hit
And
Mr.
by that
Miracle.
point, it's too fucking late.
No.
Adam Warlock is
fast.
standing directly behind Mr. Miracle, blasting him. There's no way Mr. Miracle would be able to react fast enough. Mr. Miracle does not know that Adam Warlock can teleport.
No one reacts faster than Mr. Miracle.
No one reacts fast enough to dodge this, period. Mr. Miracle can get hit. I just want you to know that. He's been hit before. He gets blasted by this blast.
You think he does, but really once the energy touches him, it triggers the mother box, and he activates his cape shield, and it just wraps him in a cocoon, and it protects him from the energy blast.
Okay, so Mr. Miracle is wrapped up into this cocoon. Adam Warlock knows a thing or two about that, and what he does is he puts his hands over the cape and transmutes the elements within the cape into fucking granite. So now, Mr. Miracle is trapped within this granite tomb, essentially.
Oh, you think a granite tomb is gonna trap Mr. Miracle?
Yeah.
He eats this shit for breakfast. While encased, he uses his multi-cube to spray a corrosive foam that basically just disintegrates the granite.
And therefore disintegrates his protective cape that he once used to shield himself. So Adam Warlock creates this energy lance construct that he shoots forward that pierces right into Mr. Miracle's chest.
Okay, but as the energy lance is approaching, Mr. Miracle activates his arrow discs, kicks his legs up, and uses them as a shield against the lance. After which he attaches the arrow discs to his forearms, and he launches one of them towards Adam Warlock, cutting his staff in half.
The staff is unbreakable, so essentially Adam Warlock uses the staff to deflect the arrow disc that's being shot at him.
Okay, that's fine, because that was just a distraction anyway. As Adam Warlock is deflecting the arrow disc, Mr. Miracle is activating a sonic frequency on his multi-cube that disorients Adam Warlock.
Oh, disorientation sonic beam? That's not good because Adam Warlock does have, like, super enhanced senses. So I see Adam Warlock dropping to his knees and covering his ears and crying out in pain.
Yeah, I like that.
At which point, he reaches out to the sentience of Mr. Miracle's mother box.
What?
Now, what is the nature of this sentience? Does the mother box actually have a soul, or is it artificial, or what's going on there?
That's an interesting question. It does use source energy, which I guess you could argue would sort of be like soul energy.
Right, exactly. All right, so he taps into the soul energy of the mother box and shuts the mother box down, effectively rendering both Mr. Miracle's mother box and his multi-cube inert, and shutting down the sonic frequency.
What the fuck?
It's a really mysterious move that you just don't understand. But essentially, Adam Warlock just hacked the mother box's soul.
But I mean, Mr. Miracle, like, built this mother box.
Okay.
He knows how to repair it.
Uh-huh.
One of the things the mother box could actually do is store some of its energy in its wielder, then he could give it back.
Is that true?
Yes. So that's what he does.
So he uses his own soul energy to reboot his mother box?
Well, he had, like, excess soul energy.
Did he?
He's always fucking prepared. He's Mr. Miracle.
Okay.
even if it was just a little bit of juice just to jumpstart it. That's enough.
And well, in the meantime, while Mr. Miracle is trying to reboot his mother box, Adam Warlock is casting a spell, shall we say.
A spell?
Yeah. And then he lunges forward and strikes Mr. Miracle in the neck in one of his nerve pressure points.
Okay, but again, Mr. Miracle has like the most advanced reflexes in the entire universe. He blocks the nerve strike with one of his aerodisc shields, then uses his other hand to apply a set of advanced handcuffs to Adam Warlock. So now his hands are bound together.
Oh shit. Okay, so Adam Warlock's hands are bound.
And Mr. Miracle follows it up by discharging an explosive he had in his hand right onto Adam Warlock, sending him flying backwards.
Okay, so the explosive goes off and sends Adam Warlock, whose hands are bound, flying backward, except he doesn't fly backward, he just vanishes into thin air.
What?
Okay? Because the spell that Adam Warlock created was an illusion.
What?
The real Adam Warlock is hovering directly above Mr. Miracle and drops out of the sky like a cosmic meteor, just slamming right into Mr. Miracle.
Okay, so Mr. Miracle gets hit, but by this time, his mother box is fully rebooted. And it's healing Mr. Miracle.
Okay.
And as he's healing, Mr. Miracle uses his multi-cube to set off a series of strobes around the environment that blind Adam Warlock and disorient him.
Disorientation again?
It's Mr. Miracle. He traps you, he disorients you, that's what he does. Then fires off his own energy blast at Adam Warlock.
Well, Adam Warlock saw that this energy blast was coming because he used his clairvoyance to perceive the incoming attack.
Oh, gosh.
So he already had an energy shield up and waiting to deflect that energy attack.
Isn't he blind right now, though?
I mean, yeah, he may be disoriented from the strobes, but he's also clairvoyant, so he knows where to place the shield.
All right. But a shield is no match for the anti-life equation.
Why are you busting that out now? Because you're scared?
No? Why not? Why not? Why weaken the characters? Let them do what they can do.
All right, so what does the anti-life equation do?
Basically, it gives him full control over Adam Warlock. So he makes Adam Warlock create this energy dagger, and Adam Warlock uses it to, like, impale himself.
Well, okay, so Adam Warlock maybe is susceptible to the power of the anti-life equation and it stabs himself, but again, he's the avatar of life. So, if anything, he's the antithesis to the anti-life equation, and he's able to prevent his soul from leaving his body through his own astral mastery. So he retains his soul within his body, despite the fact that he's stabbing himself. And then he just summons one of his cocoons to wrap himself up and heal the wound that he created.
What are the cocoons made of?
I have no idea. I don't think they've ever said. It's just a cocoon.
Okay, well, Mr. Miracle can escape from any trap, and I'm pretty sure that means he could also break into any container. So he, uses his multi-cube to open up the cocoon,
which is a huge mistake because at that point, Adam Warlock emerges from the cocoon with his soul gem, since you brought the anti-life equation into this, and just fucking rips Mr. Miracle's soul right out of his ass.
Oh, I disagree, sir. I think Adam Warlock falls out of the cocoon in, gooey pieces, like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
No, that's not how it works.
I think it is.
I don't think it is. Do you want to take it to the simulations?
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and run those things and find out who comes out of this match victorious.
Cool.
You know what made this particular matchup so hard? It's the vagueness of these characters. Their power levels vary so drastically that it really made it hard to pinpoint these stats down.
Right, they could be pit against anything from street level criminals to cosmic level entities.
Exactly. There were some differences between the characters that we did find, such as fighting skill. We believe that Mr. Miracle, being a skill-based hero, has a little bit more fight training than Adam Warlock does. Although you could make the argument that Adam Warlock has the fight training of anyone he absorbs within his soul gem. That being said, we haven't really seen him use it in a lot of the comic books that he's been in.
Right.
So we think it's fair to assume that Mr. Miracle is a better fighter. However, we also think it's fair to assume that strategically, Adam Warlock has the advantage because not only is he a master strategist like Mr. Miracle, but he also has the added benefit of clairvoyance. So they're kind of going back and forth, with some disparity also being found in their ability to resist injury, their durability stat. Adam Warlock doesn't have necessarily as much armor as Mr. Miracle does, although Adam Warlock is able to generate force fields and energy armor around himself.
As is Mr. Miracle.
Right, exactly. Mr. Miracle does wear armor, though, and his new god physiology is slightly higher than Adam Warlock's artificial physiology.
And that's where the real stat boost comes in, because Mr. Miracle's suit is lightly armored, but not as much as, say, his wife Bar does.
Right, but in terms of, speed and strength and their range and their ability to evade attack, they're pretty comparable.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a close match.
Which is good, which is exciting. I love it when two very different characters that we know nothing about ends up being really close. So let's go ahead and get the results of the match. Who won the fight between Mr. Miracle and Adam Warlock?
Who do you think came out on top?
I think this is going to be a coin toss, I think. I couldn't tell you either way. I hope that it's Adam Warlock.
It's almost a coin toss. It's a pretty close match.
Uh-huh.
So after running 1,000 simulations, the winner is Mr. Miracle.
By how much, though?
So Mr. Miracle won 55.5% of the 1,000 matches, so 555 wins, and Adam Warlock won 445 matches.
That's fairly close. That's respectable. That's not as close as I was hoping it would be, honestly, but it's still close enough to make this a really tight match.
Oh yeah, for sure. For a second there, I was definitely crapping my pants over who was going to win because I'm sick of losing.
Overall, between all the duels we've done, we were pretty much almost tied, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Someone will have to quantify that. But I guess that does it for this matchup. I can't believe Adam Warlock would lose at anything. Like, the only person he loses to is like Thanos. You know, how the heck did this happen?
Dude, it's respectable to lose to Mr. Miracle.
Is it?
He is the fucking best. Like, it's okay. You maintain your honor. You maintain your honor.
Oh, good. Okay, that's all I need is my honor. All right, guys, go ahead and reach out to us and let us know what you thought about this matchup. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by doing a search for Dynamic Duel Podcast on any of those platforms. You can also visit our website for links to our social media at dynamicduel.com.
Yeah, and if you visit our site, you'll also find a link to our merchandise store, which is on TeePublic. And if you click that link, you'll get a discount on your first order.
So definitely check out our impressive lineup of t-shirts and all the other memorabilia you can buy using our no prize artwork that Jonathan draws.
It helps support the podcast and also gets you some awesome swag.
Hell yeah, it does.
In our next episode, we will be reviewing the 1982 movie Swamp Thing, directed by Wes Craven.
Yes, and that's in preparation for the upcoming DC Universe streaming show, Swamp Thing, at the end of this month. So we want to see kind of how the two media compare, and that's also setting up a duel match between Swamp Thing and Man Thing that we have the week following. So definitely stay tuned. We have some great episodes coming up. Check out next week. Watch Swamp Thing if you can. I don't know if it's a great movie because honestly, I have never seen it.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
I've seen it.
Is it good?
You'll just have to wait and see. It's better than the TV show, I think.
Okay, I never saw the TV show either, so...
Okay.
Anyway, that does it for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us if you haven't already, and share the show if you possibly can. Without further ado,
up and away.
True believers.